Hello, in this video we would like to show our work on musculoskeletal model of an osseointegrated transfemoral amputee in OpenSim. This video is outlined as following with a brief literature review, motivation for the study, a methodology and the data collections methods, the results and model validations, finally with a conclusion. Musculoskeletal modeling is a fundamental instrument for analysis of biomechanical characteristics of the human body. These models helps in understanding the kinematics and dynamics of the human gait, such as moments, forces, muscle activation, muscle forces, etc. as the output of such models. OpenSim is an open source musculoskeletal simulation software that has been extensively used for biomechanical study over the last decade. In the example shown here, Steele and team had performed a subject-specific modeling of children walking with mild crouch gait were analyzed to understand the muscle contributions during their gait. Such insights aid in performing the gait correction surgeries and improvise the rehabilitation techniques. Similarly, Lapre and team had modeled a transtibial amputee with a socket interface to study the residuum socket interface in a gait. With these approaches on musculoskeletal modeling, we thought of developing a competent tool to understand the biomechanics of an osseointegrated transfemoral amputee. So, in OpenSim, they provide a musculoskeletal model for lower extremity with 23 degrees of freedom and 92 musculotendon units representing the lower extremity of a human body. In this body, they have 6 degrees of freedom at the pelvis and 3 degrees of freedom on each hip joint, 1 degrees of freedom at the knee, and 2 degrees of the freedom at the ankle for plantar flexion and dorsiflexion, and similarly 1 degree of freedom for the toes on the metatarsals. We decided to modify this lower extremity model for our osseointegrated transfemoral amputee. We modified the lower extremity model as shown in the previous slide to develop an osseointegrated transfemoral amputee model as shown here. This model has 19 degrees of freedom with 6 degrees of freedom at pelvis, 3 degrees of freedom at each hip joint, and 1 degrees of freedom at the knee, and 1 degrees of freedom at the ankle. The musculotendon units have been disabled as it is not within the scope of this research. The left femur was cut and its mass, inertial properties, and center of mass has been modified accordingly. To simplify the model, the subtalar and the metatarsal joints were locked at their neutral positions. The kinematic data collection was taken as per the guidelines of Viken lower extremity gait plugin marker protocol for healthy subjects using motion capture cameras at 100 frames per second. The kinetic information has been collected by using an instrumented treadmill with a rate of 2 kilohertz. The subject walked at a speed of 4 km per hour on the treadmill. 34 virtual markers were placed on the OpenSim model with respect to the Viken marker placement protocol for lower extremity gait. The model has been scaled and the mass has been distributed to the body segments with respect to the subject mass and static calibration marker positions. For all bony prominent markers, respective marker pairs have been used to scale each segments of the body. For instance, lateral knee and the ankle markers have been used to scale the tibia of the subject. Such practice helped in efficiently reducing the scaling errors. After scaling the model, We perform the inverse kinematics tool with OpenSim to compute the joint angles, and with the kinetic information we and the joint angles, we perform the inverse dynamics to compute the joint moments. Further, a residual reduction algorithm was also performed on this model to identify if there are any significant changes in the experimental data and the results that has been computed. The guidelines in the OpenSim has been followed strictly to benchmark this process and reduce the scaling and the computation errors. The residual reduction algorithm makes changes to the original model by adjusting the mass and the center of mass of the body uh, to match with the experimental data. So we identified that the total mass change was about 1.7 kg. There was not a significant change on the kinematics and the dynamics of the data. 10 gait cycles have been analyzed for each limb from a continuous level ground walking over the instrumental treadmill. The gait cycle starts and ends with the heel strike of the same leg. The results obtained from the Viken lower body gait plugin and the developed model in OpenSim are shown here. Here we see the inverse kinematics results. The ankle angle of the prosthetic limb is always in a dorsiflexed position as the subject is using a passive prosthetic foot. It can also be observed that around 70% of the gait cycle there is an active plantar flexion of the right ankle, whereas the prosthetic ankle fails to do so. Similarly, for the knee angle, intact limb shows the compliance of an active flexion during the heel strike, whereas the prosthetic knee shows an active damping. It can be noticed that in the left limb there is a peak ankle dorsiflexion of 5 degrees in Viken, whereas in OpenSim it is 7 degrees. In the knee joint of the left leg, there is an offset of 10 degrees in Viken, whereas the reason could be because of the marker placement of the prosthetic limb was not recognized by the gait plugin as it is designed for healthy subjects. Similarly, there is a huge offset in the hip flexion angle between OpenSim and Viken. The normalized moments across hip, knee, and ankle joints are plotted for a scaled amputee model in these plots. It can be noticed that the left leg generates lower moments compared to the intact limb during heel strikes. The required knee moment of 0.6 Newton meter per kg is not achieved by the prosthetic limb as it is being damped. It can be noticed that the joint moments in Viken are higher compared to the OpenSim inverse dynamic results. One of the reasons could be due to the inaccurate scaling of the model that could result in a higher moment arm while performing inverse dynamics in the Viken plugin. These are the results after performing the residual reduction algorithm on the scaled model. It can be noticed that there are no significant changes in the joint angles. However, there are some small changes in the joint moments. It is due to the change in the model mass. In this paper, we presented the development and validation of a transfemoral amputee model using OpenSim. This model can be used for subject-specific simulations by editing the model parameters and marker protocols. Results shows accurate tracking compared to the conventional systems. This program was funded by European Commission's Horizon 2020 program as a part of the Project MyLab.